Hello and welcome to another free history video. Today we are looking at Elizabeth and we're going to be looking at a problem she faced with solving religion. Right, in today's lesson we are going to be revising that key knowledge about Elizabeth and religion, looking at the Catholics and Protestants and how each of them might have caused problems and how she tried to use her middle way to solve those problems. We're also going to look at the explain question in detail and look at getting to the top level skills there. But firstly, we're going to go to the quiz. Now, if your knowledge is not brilliant on this topic, do go to my revision video on this one. I'll put a link at the top. Have a go at revising that, then come back to the quiz. But for now, let's see how good your knowledge is. Over to quiz. Here we are then, a lovely quiz to have a go at. So there are 8 questions here. Have a look over them. Maybe your knowledge is not so great as you thought, so do go back to my revision video. I'll put a link in the previous section and revise your knowledge, then come back and see if you've remembered it all well. So there are 8 questions. Have a pause and have a think of the answers or write them down. Have a go. Right, hopefully you've been successful with that. So let's see how you got on. Here are the 8 answers. So was Elizabeth the head or the governor of the church? Well, she was the governor. She didn't want to cause a huge controversy with the middle way by being the head of the church. That would have been maybe upsetting to the Catholics, who considered the Pope to be the head of the church, of course. So there's 2 ways Elizabeth tried to find a middle way in her religion. So there's quite a lot of examples of this, but so I've listed 3, but there are more. So Catholics could worship privately at home. They were allowed to have a communion at home, or maybe do a rosary bead at home. There were low recusancy fines for not attending church. Everyone had to attend church, but the fines were relatively low. If you were a noble person, you could pay them quite easily and not go, which was a choice some Catholics would have made. But obviously, if you're poor, the fines were quite substantial and you'd still have to go to church. Some Catholic ideas were kept in the church. So the idea of a prayer book, for instance, it's not very Puritan, definitely. Jesus did not spend his time in the Bible saying, go forth and make a prayer book. So that's quite Catholic. Also, vestments, wearing of the robes, it's quite Catholic. Also, the whole structure of the church is still quite Catholic, with bishops and priests. Jesus did not, in the Bible, as Puritans might suggest, go forth and make a structure of the church with a pope at the top. Whereas the Puritans, obviously, and the Protestants wanted the word of God from the Bible a lot more strictly, so they might not have been too keen on vestments and structure, and obviously there were controversies over that. So number 3, what did the Pope do in 1570? Well, the papal bull was excommunicating Elizabeth and telling Catholics to overthrow her. Obviously, we'll look at that in the rebellions work and a bit more. So how did Elizabeth react to the bull and rebellions of 1569 and 1571? Well, as the Catholics started to misbehave, she banned rosary beads and increased recusancy fines to ensure they were being loyal. So her middle way is starting to collapse a little bit. And obviously, when you think about rebellions in Mary Queen of Scots, that's part of the importance of them. So which group of Catholics arrived in 1580 to try and convert people back to being Catholic? Well, the Jesuits arrived. So this is part of the Counter-Reformation, particularly from Spain, to try and turn England back to being Catholic. So how did Elizabeth react to the Jesuits? Well, she made it treason to have a priest in your home. So as we'll look at the next answer, some of these priests were caught and executed. And this was to try and control people, stop them coming back to being Catholic. So as we said, name of Jesuit was captured and executed. Well, Edmund Campion's your best example to look at there. So who did Elizabeth execute in 1592 for trying to make a separate Puritan church? Well, you've got Henry Barrow and John Greenwood. So the Puritans had been a bit of a problem throughout the time. It's worth sort of recognising that obviously there's a number of them in Parliament, and they start to question Elizabeth during her reign from Parliament about things like marriage and Mary Queen of Scots. But then by 1590s, some of the more influential Puritans in the court and in Privy Council have moved on. So people like Dudley and Walsingham, Cecil to some extent have moved on. And they would caution Elizabeth about her treatment of Puritans, but they've gone. So now she's being a bit stricter. And a separate Puritan church is a great threat to Elizabeth's religious policy, so they're obviously executed. So I hope you did well with that. If not, then as I said, do go and look back at my revision video on that and my Quizlet notes. I hope you were a great success at that and you've really improved your knowledge. Now, let's go on over to the explain skills. So here we are then with our explain questions. And firstly, we're going to look at this question about getting our top level grade 9 success criteria and thinking about how we answer it correctly. So here's the question. Explain what was important about Elizabeth's religious settlement. 8 marks. So if you'd like, have a pause and make a list of your own ways in which you think you need to answer this question and maybe start to plan some ideas. But otherwise, I'm going to move on and just discuss some of the things about this question. So firstly, we need to explain using our Peel paragraphs. We need to make our points, give our evidence, and explain. So within this, we need to describe the religious settlement. Obviously, that's the point that's made there. So we might need to give some examples of religious settlement in our evidence section, and then explain ways that it was important for Elizabeth or for England. Maybe it's evidence and consequences again. Obviously, for 8 marks, we need to do this twice. We need to explain 2 parts of a religious settlement. And obviously, for the wider marks, obviously try and explain maybe Catholic and Protestant or different places. So you're getting those top level marks. So what will it look like? So here is a writing frame. So we might have a point. One way that Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that we give an idea. Maybe give some evidence, for example, her settlement, give an example from her settlement and explain this was important because, and then link that link I was talking about. Furthermore, it was important as, and then go to wider ideas. Remember, wider people, place and time will give you some of the ideas you need. So let's do a little bit of planning about this. Again, you're welcome to pause and have a think about things and come up with your own ideas and sort of self-assess using what I'm saying. It'll be a useful sort of revision tool for you to do. But here's some of the ideas I've been thinking of for this one. So points. So obviously we could divide into Catholics and Protestants. So Catholics were upset by her middle way and her religious settlement, and it obviously caused problems. And Protestants were upset by it, and they tried to change the church to be more radical, more Puritan. So the types of evidence you might have. So Catholics, obviously, the middle way was partly Protestant with an English Bible, less icons and fewer sacraments. Confession was removed, for instance, which was important. And if you really want to go for it, transubstantiation, which is the idea that the communion actually turned into the body and blood of Christ. So they're unhappy with that. Protestants were unhappy that it was partly Catholic, had vestments, bishops and prayer books, had lots of Catholic things. So well done, Elizabeth. Unfortunately, you're pleasing nobody here. So let's see how it goes. And we obviously want to explain. So obviously the Catholics, it led to rebellions. That's what's important about it. It led to rebellions to overthrow Elizabeth and led to a counter-reformation from the Spanish and even the Douai French. So it led to Elizabeth punishing Catholics and the middle way started to fail. Whereas for Protestants, it led to the Vesterian controversy. We started to complain about vestments and there were arguments in Parliament about this. It led to attempts of a separate church and Puritan executions with the 1590s as well. So we've got a couple of ideas there to explain. Okay, that's just a plan. It's not factually brilliant. It gives you some ideas. So you'll need to still look at your facts to get a really good answer. So bearing this in mind, if you want to pause now and just have a flick backwards and forwards in the table and give a look at your notes and write a paragraph, use the writing frame here. Give it a go. And then I'm going to go through an example one now. Okay, so we can make a point. One way that Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that it upset many Catholics in England and began to fail. Okay, if you like, again, you can carry on, you can write the next bit, for example. Go on if you like. Have a think about the evidence you might give. So, for example, her middle way included the Bible in English and ended many Catholic sacraments despite allowing Catholics to pray at home. I'll give more detail on that. Of course, I could say confession, of course. if I wanted to, or talk about the laws. So then we've got the explain. This was important because it led to the papal bull excommunicating Elizabeth in 1570 and Catholics attempting to kill Elizabeth in attempts to restore the Catholic Church. The Ridolfi plot, the Throckmorton plot, the Babington plot. I could have mentioned the Northern Rebellion, of course. So we've got importance explained. It's important for Elizabeth that her religious settlement is leading to rebellions, but also this is a sign that it's failing, isn't it? So we could think about furthermore. Furthermore, this was important because it led to the failure of the middle way. Due to this, the rebellion and Jesuit Catholic Counter-Reformation began. Elizabeth had to punish Catholics and abandon her middle way. In particular, in 1581, recusancy fines were greatly increased, and by 1585, Catholic priests would be executed. So obviously her middle way has failed. So maybe have a go at the Protestant one. It's really useful to have a go at a Protestant question. The nightmare question, I suppose, that most people think about with this exam is a Protestant religious question or a poverty question. So have a go at this one, because we should be pretty well prepared with poverty this year, with Burley's Almshouse being the key topic for the 16 marker. So Puritanism, can we explain that? It's going to be really important. Maybe have a think, can you explain two Puritans for a write an account question on it? So have a go, pause and have a go, maybe a Puritan paragraph. So with this question then, obviously I've been through lots of ideas. There are loads of questions you can make about explain what was important about. Just pretty much add a topic at the end from the course and you get a question to practice. I will try and practice a few of these questions with you and some of the revision videos. So look out for those. So I hope you found today's revision videos really useful and you've managed to practice your knowledge and your top level skills with explaining problems Elizabeth faced, particularly around religion. Okay, so look out for more videos soon. Okay, bye-bye.